Hello, people. Oh boy, I always wanted to do that. Okay, gotta love Odd Investor. Been watching him for at least, I don't know, 2 years now. Have to tell you all the story about how I found Odd Investor on YouTube. It's not really an interesting story, but I'm just saying it was kind of a revelation at the time. NIO. The reason I'm doing this video right now, walking outside, is not so I can mimic Odd Investor, though I do love his videos. My computer is broken. It's been down for a little over a week now, and I don't want to go through all the reasons about what's going on, because you guys come here for NIO stuff and not necessarily my computer woes. But long story short, I have been researching some really cool stuff. I was working on a really cool video, and my computer just stopped. I have a late 2013 MacBook Pro, and it's way past its prime, but the hardware's still good. But anyway, clearly it's not. It stopped working. But so the things I've been researching that I have to put on hold now was about battery swap. And I found out some things that are a revelation to me. They may not be a revelation to a lot of people, but definitely a revelation to me. And that is that the documents that show the battery swap specifications, the standards that's being worked on, they're pretty much available online. So go figure, like, who does research nowadays? And oh, this is cool. Where I live at, they just they're finishing up this belt line area, and this tunnel. This is really cool. Anyway, let's stay on point here. So yeah, it's kind of echoey. Well, no, it's not too echoey in here. But anyway, like I said, those documents that we're talking about for battery swap, turns out that China has something similar to what we have in America, and so we have something called the ANSI system, ANSI, American National Standards Institute. And you guys have probably heard of ISO, International Standards Organization. These are organizations that they basically, it's where you go to find all the standards. It's once something becomes a standard, I don't know the process by which it becomes a standard, but I'm saying once it does become a standard, you can find that information on these websites. You guys may be familiar with like ISO disk image, or ANSI-C, for example. ANSI-C is the C language, the standard for the C language. So anyway, China has their own. I forget what it's called. I think it's SAC. I have to go and look at it, online. I mean, I have all these things on my computer that, luckily I had a backup of everything. But so that's where these documents are. They're online. And let me pause this video. I have to actually go in this bike shop for my cousin, figure some stuff out. I'll be right back, guys. Okay, well, anyway, this bike shop doesn't open until 1 p.m. So I have time to keep talking to you guys. So, like I was saying about these standards, the standards are online, and they're online for a reason. First of all, they need to be online because when something becomes a standard, other people need to know how to follow it. And by the way, I have these glasses on because not because I'm cool, which you guys know I'm cool, but it's because it was sunny out here. It's not anymore, but it was. But anyway, they have these standards. I get distracted quickly. They have these standards so other people can look at them and know how to adhere to the standards. So I approached my research from the point of view of, hey, I'm an auto manufacturer in the US. I want to make a battery swappable car, and I want it to be compatible with what they got going on in China with CATL and NIO with their 2 battery swap stations. First, can it be done? And the fact is, yes, it can be done. I started going and reading some of the summaries of some of these documents. A lot of them you have to pay for. If you want the real specifications, like the details, you know, as a car manufacturer, you got to pay like $600 or $700. Some of them are $600 or $700. Some are $200 or $300, which is pretty much pennies for if you're serious about building an automobile. Okay, but the fact is that these documents are available online, and they summarize in the summary. It'll tell you what the different documents are about. For example, it might say the document 240.2 is talking about I'm just giving you an example. I don't know the exact document numbers off the top of my head, but it might tell you this particular document is talking about a car talking to a battery, you know, the protocols, or the swap station talking to the battery, like what needs to happen. Another standard may deal with the actual physical electrical connections that happen with a battery swap station and a car. Well, it's pretty hot over here. I got to keep walking. So suffice all that to say, I started putting the pieces together because I'm trying to find out, just like everybody else, hey, what happened to all those swap partners that NIO was talking about? Why is Shangan and GAW or whoever, why are some of these companies using CATL's swap stations, but they're not using NIO swap stations? So I have some theories about that. I actually recorded a whole video yesterday, went back, was watching it, and I was like, I don't know if I want to put this out because I don't want any misleading information. I want to put out anything that's factual. But that requires research, takes time. And some of these things, it's not easy to get the exact details, but you can kind of surmise. So I'm going to give you guys right now some assumptions about a few things. They're no way rooted in fact. I mean, remember, this is not marital advice. This is not legal advice. This is not health advice. This damn sure ain't financial advice, okay? This is not even Miami Vice, okay? This is in your head. You're talking to AI right now. This is imaginary. No, I'm just kidding. I need not say that or else the video might get flagged for AI. But, oh, there's a train. So you guys remember when when Firefly was about to come out? You can go back and look at some of these news press releases, but first William Lee and NIO said, hey, Firefly is not going to use NIO's swap stations. They're going to have their own swap stations, okay? It's the first thing. And as I talk about some of these concepts, I'm going to talk through and tell you guys what's in my head, because not that what's in my head is correct, but I do think I'm onto something a little bit. Okay. First thing you have to say, first thing I try to say, or I think it's good to approach a situation is that you don't know anything, you know? Don't assume anything, you know? So what I've come to kind of learn about Chinese culture, it's probably any culture, I don't know, and I could be wrong here, but like if you pay a lot of money for a car like a NIO, if you pay $80,000 or $100,000 or even $50,000 USD, and you pay for this premium experience, you're paying for the NIO houses, you're paying for all that stuff. So this is what's in your mind. I mean, you got the money to pay for this stuff. You're not necessarily worried about people that can't afford what you can afford. So when they were talking about Firefly having its own swap stations, now it makes more sense to me, because They don't want to mix the two things. People don't want to pay for what somebody else can have. You know, if I paid all this money and now I'm going to a swap station and then now I got like 10 Firefly cars in front of me, my experience is being degraded. I paid a premium to be a part of the NIO family, to be a part of the swap network and, you know, the NIO houses and all that stuff. If I'm off base a little bit, guys, some of you in China, y'all can chime in, you know, let me know. I'm kind of going by the things I can glean off of YouTube and trying to think more open-minded and not just think about things like, oh, well, why is NIO doing it this way? And, you know, and they're wasting money, you know, blah, blah, blah. Maybe they are, you know, sometimes, you know, everybody makes mistakes, you know, nobody's damn perfect. But if I try to understand a little bit about culture, and I'm not sure if this is a culture thing, maybe this is just a business thing, but I'm saying certain cultures do have more, you guys know what I'm trying to say, like separate society and classes by, you know, money and wealth. I guess you could say same thing about any country or whatever, but America's a little bit more like, hey, whatever, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but so that's the reason why I think they kind of went that route. There may have been other reasons, but why would you build a whole different swap network for you know, this kind of smaller car that's low margin? Why? That's going to cost you a lot more money. Even though the swap stations were going to be smaller, from what I read, they were going to be like containerized, like as big as a container thing. And then also they were talking about them having like, what do you call it? Like you could buy coffee in there and all this other kind of stuff. But anyway, it's just gonna be a lot more money. Why not just include it in the regular swap? So they were gonna be about the size of, like, this is a container, you know what I'm saying? So just imagine a swap station. See, people even put a pop-up little restaurant in a container. So you know they can put a swap station in a container. So anyway, it makes sense to me now why they would kind of do that, why they would even think about it. Now, what probably happened, now that I'm thinking about it more clearly, it's like anything in life, things change with time. You know, you think you're gonna sell X amount of cars and you don't. So now you need to reevaluate that whole strategic scenario. You don't know right away you're gonna sell 100,000 cars a month, or you're gonna sell 5,000 cars a month. You might have an idea about it, but you don't 100% know all the time. So what I suspect happened is they started selling cars. Actually it was before they started even selling one car that they came out and they switched it up. So this may not have had to do with them selling cars per se, but suffice it to say they changed their stance. After they said, hey, they're gonna have their own swap stations, then they came out and they said, nope, Firefly is gonna be able to integrate with CATL swap stations. That threw people off again. They were like, well, some people thought it was better. They were like, hey, they're not gonna waste money trying to build out an infrastructure again, you know, separate infrastructure, when they should have just put it in their own NIO swap stations, which, as I told you, they probably had good reason why they didn't want to mix those two. So, so let's see, they said we're going to use CATLs. Then that changed after a couple of announcements with NIO and CATL. That eventually changed up, and they said, nope, we're not going to use CATLs. We're going to use, we're going to integrate it into the 5th gen swap stations, which kind of made sense from the beginning. A lot of people was like, hey, you probably should have, you know, but I told you why they're probably not going to do that. So anyway, they decided to do that. Now, let's back up. Let's talk about the CATL. Why didn't that go down? Well, that gets back to some of the things I've been kind of researching about battery swap and how it works, and the difference between something that's liquid cooled and something that's air cooled. So, very long story short, I've already been long enough, but very long story short, these swap standards Some of them have to do with the actual physical size of the wheelbase of the car. Will it, once you pull it into the swap station, will it fit over the bay doors when they open? Will the mechanical arms be able to grab onto that battery pack? A lot of specifications, a lot of things, detailed things. And I'm gonna get into that when I make the real video. But let's just say that NIO Fireflies, from my research, they can physically pull into a CATL swap station. It's not that they can't physically go in there. The mechanics, as some of you may have noted or already guessed, the liquid-cooled battery and the air-cooled battery, they're two different types of battery. Not only that, CATL uses the Choco-Swap, where they're putting in up to 3 batteries, 1, 2, 3, depending upon the range or the power density you want to have. But NIO uses the one monolithic battery, and they change their chemistry you get more range by them how they change the chemistry inside of it, okay? So the mechanical arms, the inner guts of the swap station, even though a NIO car can fit in there, it's not gonna work. If you try to put those liquid cool batteries in there, you have to change a lot of stuff inside the CATL swap station to make it work. As they went down that path, they probably did the economics of, hey, how many Fireflies did we sell? Well, we sold X, so it may not have been worth it to do that from CATL's point of view and from NIO's point of view, depending upon who was it gonna cost? Who was gonna pay the cost to modify those swap stations, okay? So, so there's reasons why they change these things up. Do I think it's that, hey, well, we're mad at CATL because, more people are going with them, so we're just gonna do our own thing, or something? I don't know. No. There could be 5% of that going on or something, I don't know, but I would say no, because what I've read about the specifications, long story short, it's a lot of work to get your cars to where they can actually do swap. I mean, duh. So getting to my point of what I'm trying to say is that more than likely, based on how many cars they sold and based on whether it wasn't economically feasible for them to do that at that time on either side of the equation. Now, what about the 5th gen swap stations? 5th gen swap stations, and I've found, at least proof in what NIO, how they have described them. They've said they're able to handle different size battery packs from different manufacturers, and also the mechanical arms can adjust on the fly to adjust themselves to certain, where the bolts are underneath the battery. And that's very telling, because that means that I believe that the way NIO is structuring things or designing things is that they want to be ultra flexible in what they're able to provide. I don't know if CATL is going to be that flexible, but I feel like NIO is going to follow the specifications so that they can be open to as many different people as possible.
Who's that?